Guys, welcome to Gabe's Garage. What I have for you today is gonna be probably your last resort when it comes to saving your transmission on this is for specific a 2014 Town Country, but they use the same transmission on a Dodge Journey and the Dodge Caravan as well, if I am not wrong. What happened to this car is my wife called me yesterday. She said she was hearing a whining noise and the car started acting weird, like didn't want it to drive. So I immediately told her, just stop the car, and when I get home I check it. This is what the car sounded like. So that noise pretty much is your transmission pump. It sounds very familiar because it almost sounds like a power steering pump, but you're gonna notice that it's gonna be on the driver's side, not on the passenger side. So definitely transmission pump, not power steering pump. So the first thing I did is to take the pan off, which is super simple. It's 12 volts, 8mm. Just take those off. Make sure you have a drain bucket under it so you can collect out your fluid. And once you do that, then we're gonna be able to inspect what's in here. Once you do that, you're gonna have two Torx 25, and this is gonna be the filter for the transmission, and it's gonna be up there like this, and you pretty much just gonna jiggle it until it comes down. A lot more fluid is gonna come out after. Just collect it all. The reason why I did this last night is because I wanted to let it drip in there overnight, because if not, it will be dripping forever. And once you have to put silicone, the surfaces has to be clean. Now you can see that the fluid is very dark. That means this thing hasn't been changed in a long time. But not just that, also this, you're gonna see it like a metal, small, almost look like chocolate, right? But it's just metal particles from the clutches. This is normal wear, I will think. What you don't want to see is big chunks of metals anywhere in the pan or the bucket, right? So this, we're gonna clean it up right now. I was expecting to see worse based on how the transmission was slipping and the whining noise, but I am thinking this is good news. But regardless, like I said before, the chances of this working at that point are low, so we're just gonna do this maintenance and see if you'll fix it. Now we're under the vehicle. You don't have to worry about this top pan. I took it off because mine was leaking and I don't want to be here twice, so I'm gonna go ahead and do a reseal, put new silicone in there, put the pan back in there. But this is the one that we want to worry about, right? We took these off already, these 12 bolts. This is where the filter was. There's a seal here that we're gonna have to remove. I'll show you that in a minute. And we also want to clean these surfaces because this is where the silicone is going to be. So when we do these, you want to make sure you don't scratch the inside of where that seal is. What I want to do is I want to deform that seal first, so it will be easier to take it off. Now we're gonna just clean this up real quick with a rack. We're gonna put some transmission fluid on it and just install the seal. So I went to the store, pick up my new transmission filter. What I wanna do is I wanna make sure that I have everything I need. Here's the old one and here is the new one. And I just wanna make sure that they look very, very identical. They should be pretty much the same, right? Which they are. So now I can dump my old one and I can install my new one after I install my seal. Don't forget that you need to put this seal in there, and then we're just gonna torque the transmission filter. So to install our new seal, what we want to do is we want to lubricate the seal first, and you can do that simply by using same transmission fluid. That way it will go smoother in there. And then you want to find a socket that is big enough that it will cover the back side of it, and we're gonna push it in there. We're gonna tap it until it's in. gotta make sure it's flush. Once it's flush, we're done. So now we can put the transmission filter and torque it. So the torque on this transmission filter is gonna be 40 inch-pounds, which is like 5 Newton meters. To put this on, you just wiggle it in there until eventually it's all seated in. Start your bolts by hands. And then we'll torque them to 40 inch-pounds. Alright guys, so we got our oil pan or transmission fluid pan. You can see that it's all cleaned up. The magnet is in the same spot where it was, and we got our silicone put on. So now we're just gonna put it on, finger tight it until we can see that silicone start squeezing out, and then we're gonna let it rest or sit for about an hour, and then we're gonna come back and torque it to specs. Alright guys, so we already cleaned up the surfaces. This is gonna be kind of important so you can understand how it works when we check the fluid. This is gonna be for your dipstick, and I know we don't have one, but I will show you that later. I just want to show you that this right here is what stops the dipstick from keep going, and so you can have an accurate reading. But now that we have that done, we're just gonna put the oil pan back on with the silicone, and we're just gonna let it, it's just gonna be finger tight until the silicone start coming out, and then we're gonna let it sit for an hour, and then we're gonna torque it to specs, which is gonna be 105 inch-pounds or 12 Newton meters. Alright guys, so everything is torqued. Now we just have to wait 24 hours to let the silicone dry, and then we can fill up the transmission. Alright guys, so it's been over 24 hours. What I want to do is I want to show you how to add fluid to the transmission, and we're gonna check that the fluid is at the correct level. So if we come right here, right next to the battery on the driver's side, you can come down. You're gonna be able to see this tube, which it has like a cap in it. We're just gonna remove that cap, and that's gonna be for your dipstick. So now we're gonna grab our funnel. We gotta make sure that it's clean inside and outside, so we don't want to put no debris in there. And then we're just gonna put it in that tube. Once we're in place, we're gonna add 5 quarts of ATF plus 4. And I know that a lot of people will fight about, hey, you should have used Mopar ATF plus 4. You can use Mopar if you want to. To me, ATF plus 4 is ATF plus 4. I have always used Valvoline on all my Toyotas, and I have never had an issue, so I don't see why we'll have an issue now. Okay, so if we're looking at this chart to be able to check our fluid level on the transmission, what they want you to do is to use a special tool that will look like this to be able to insert it into the dipstick tube to check your fluid level based on the temperature. But since we don't have that special tool, you can order it and buy it if you want to use it, and it'll be more accurate than this. What I'm going to do is I just took out my oil dipstick from the oil from the engine, and we're gonna have to measure it and mark it, and this is gonna be our dipstick to be able to check the fluid level. So what I did is I found a tape measure, and I measured from 8 to around 13 or 15 millimeters. That's gonna be your cold range based on that chart. So I make my first 2 marks right there. If you can see that, that's gonna be my cold range, and then I went a little bit farther for normal operating temperature, which is 200 Fahrenheit, and this is gonna be my other 2 marks, right? And this is gonna be from 40 to 55 millimeters. So the last thing you're gonna need is something to measure your fluid temperature, and you can use one of those temperature guns and go straight to the oil pan to do that, or you can have some kind of OBD reader that you can go straight into the light stream of the vehicle from the PCM or the TCM, as a matter of fact, and get your fluid temperature from there. And once we have the temperature, then we can go ahead and check the fluid level. So here goes nothing. And I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm a little bit afraid because I don't know if this thing is gonna work or not. So maybe now is the time to do a little prayer. But you know, either way, whatever happened, God is great. Let's go. Okay, so I'm still afraid, but I noticed that the whining is gone. So now what we want to do is when I put it in reverse, neutral and drive, and just take your time, like maybe a few seconds on each gear, and do that a few times. My heart is beating so fast right now because I did not want to spend $2,000 on a transmission. And I can tell you that it's working better because when I first tried, I mean, you put it in reverse or drive and it will not try to go into gear. It's almost like it was just in parking, unless you give it some gas, like really high RPM, and then it like go into gear. It was bad. It was pretty bad. I thought this was gonna be gone. I don't know for sure yet until we take it on a test drive, but so far it feels great. So now I just want to put my temperature gauge in there, my OBD, and see when it gets to 200 Fahrenheit. I have to put the dipstick on and make sure that everything is level. Okay, so I don't know if you can see it, but I can. Between 60 to 70 Fahrenheit is right now at my mark where cold is. So I'm gonna take this car now on a spin, let it warm up to 200 Fahrenheit and check the level again. Guys, this thing is driving good. It's shifting perfect. It's so far so good. I want to go back to the house and double check the fluid once I get to 200 Fahrenheit. Right now I'm about 107 Fahrenheit. Once I get to the house, I'll make sure that nothing is leaking. And man, I am so glad this thing is good. Guys, so it lives. The car is running good. I went to the store, get some transmission lines. I replaced them because they were leaking too. Since I already know that the car is running, why not spend the money on it and fix everything that I need to fix? So I fixed these. One thing I want to tell you is when you put the dipstick into the tube, it's not gonna go all the way in for the transmission. It's not made for that. You're just gonna go in until it bottoms out on that metal part that I'll show you before, and that's it. You're just gonna pull it out and get your reading. It took me 7 cores of transmission fluid, but every transmission is gonna be different based on how much drops or whatever. I hope this video is helpful to you, and I hope that you run with the same luck that I did. I was able to save this transmission, so I'm gonna be able to be running this thing for another 75,000 miles or maybe more, who knows. So that's all I have for you today, and yeah, I'll see you around.